Hi guys, as we continue with the third chapter, we'll now quickly see that why so long back 1946 to 1949 and finally 1950, these are the years which are very important for the Indian Constitution, but that's a long time ago. Why should we today in 2020 continue following the constitution that people thought about so many years back? Which is a very valid question, because the society was different then, people may have thought differently, and things change over time, right? But the reason we still follow this constitution is because it did not only reflect although it was made by a constituent assembly, which was a smaller body, the smaller body was elected by the people of India, the same way we elect a government today, right? And so it's actually representative of the whole country. And B, the Indian Constitution is a living document, which means it can be amended and changed over time according to requirements. And C, the amount of debates they had at that time, known as the Constituent Assembly debates, they ranged across so many topics that it's illogical to say that those topics are not relevant even today, because they are. As much as we've progressed, we also are a long way back, especially as our ideas as a society are concerned. Now, finally, whatever things that they agreed to do in the Indian Constitution, agreed to write, it was a consensus by the whole Constituent Assembly. Alright, it was not like, oh, two people said yes, we want this law, and suddenly they make that law. No, everyone thought about it, deliberated, made changes, suggested things, and then a certain law was drafted. Now, as we see the guiding values of the Indian Constitution, well, two very important people who shaped the Indian Constitution were Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. According to the vision of Mahatma Gandhi, he said that, so I'll read an excerpt from it. I shall strive for a constitution which will release India from all problems and patronage. I shall work for an India in which the poorest shall feel that it is their country, in whose making they have an effective voice. An India in which there shall be no high class and low class of people. An India in which all communities shall live in perfect harmony. There can be no room in such an India for the curse of untouchability or the curse of the intoxicating drinks and drugs. Women will enjoy the same rights as men. I shall be satisfied with nothing else. So that's the guiding principle of Mahatma Gandhi, which we still try to follow. We try to see that we don't differentiate on the basis of class. We try to see there are no gender problems. We also try to see that, drinking is a huge problem in the country, and so is the consumption of tobacco, but we try to educate people via advertisements and via campaigns. I'll quickly now read out to you an excerpt of the idea of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. On 26th January 1950, we are going to enter a life of contradictions. In politics, we have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. In politics, we will be recognizing the principle of one man, one vote, and one vote, one value. In our social and economic life, we shall, by reason of our social and economic structure, continue to deny the principle of one man, one value. How long shall we continue to live this life of contradictions? How shall we continue to deny equality in our social and economic life? If we continue to deny it for long, we will do so only by putting our political democracy in peril. Those are the words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Both Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar said that there should be no inequality, we should all live nicely, no class differences, we should respect the work everyone does. But there is a very crucial difference in the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The difference is Mahatma Gandhi will go on to say that labor should be respected and we should believe we are all equal, everyone should have an effective voice. But it stops there. What B.R. Ambedkar says is you need to stop this class differentiating. By just giving political rights to everyone, it is not enough. Even today in India, we see this. We see how people are differentiated on the basis of their religion, but especially on the basis of their caste. Low castes or Dalits do not have an equal voice, and even if they are given that voice, they are discriminated against. A lot of people, if you go to villages even today, will not be comfortable with people they consider so-called low caste. So this is what B.R. Ambedkar says. He said, but everyone has a right to vote. But does that really make a difference? It doesn't, because you need to change the social and economic scenario to actually change the situation of the country and to change the thinking of a society. Only political rights are not enough. For a moment, I'll just even get this to the idea of how women are treated, where women have equal political rights as well as men in India, because above the age of 18, all of us can vote. However, are women still given equal opportunities in the society? Yeah, by the government they may be given political rights, they are given, but what about society? What about the fact that a lot of women are expected to not follow careers and just marry? What about the idea that a lot of women are expected to give up their careers in the name of marriages, in the name of families? What about the idea that a lot of women are still considered incompetent for a job because it's still a man's world? What about the idea that patriarchy is still so rampant in the country, even though we're getting educated, or rather we're just getting literate? Education is when you can actually differentiate what is wrong, what is right, and find logical answers and solutions. So we still have a long way to go as a society, but the makers of the Indian Constitution thought about these problems for sure, and they did write down solutions to them. But and I hope we finally get there somewhere, and I'm sure we will. It's just taking longer, I think, than expected. Well, in the next video, I'll be discussing with you the preamble to the Constitution of India. The preamble is a very, so the preamble is basically a summary or a foreword. So basically when you read a book, there'll be a foreword or an introduction to the book which will tell you what that whole book is all about. So what about the Constitution of India? It's a big, fat, humongous document. In order to get the gist of what this document has, of what these Constituent Assembly debates were all about, what they made for the country of India, we have the preamble. Preamble is just one page, but it's very crucial because, in short, it tells you what the Indian Constitution is all about. It tells you the ideals that we as a country have decided to follow and need to follow, and especially during these times when we are facing so many political and social upheavals, the preamble is a reminder of where we need to get our inspiration from and of what we need to follow. So we'll have a look at the preamble of the Constitution of India in the next video. Thank you.